Yes, the entire known media universe is buzzing about the following amazing radio phenomenon.
It's the LuMaye. It's the LuMaye. It's the LuMaye Show.
We're going to deal with the unfair trade practices. If you look at what Canada, Mexico, the European Union, all of them have been doing to us for many, many decades, we have to change it. And they understand it's going to happen.
What are you going to do if they form an agreement without you?
We are going to do very well. Now, if we're unable to make a deal, we'll terminate NAFTA. We'll have a better deal. If we are unable to make a deal, we will be better off. Right now, we are not going to live with the deals the way they are. European Union treats us very unfairly. Canada, very unfairly. Mexico, very unfairly. With that being said, I think we'll probably very easily make a deal.
Because he is the deal maker. You have to understand, you know, maybe it goes back to the Marshall Plan after World War II, where the United States had to rebuild Europe. We never really got off this kick. And they have taken big time advantage of all of us. And it's not just Europe. I mean, it's everybody on planet Earth. It's as though we have this guilt complex where we're a very powerful superpower. And gosh, we're feeling kind of bad about it. So yeah, screw us on the trade deals. And they do in a big way. You know, often you hear Donald Trump talk about Canada's 270% tariff on dairy products. Well, if you happen to be from a state like Wisconsin or California, that's a pretty big deal. So, it is astonishing to me that this man goes to G7 and did a couple of things. First, before we get to something that I thought was amazing and of course got very little press, he also did this, which got a lot of press.
It doesn't matter what you call it. It used to be the G8 because Russia was in it, and now Russia's not in it. Now, I love our country. I have been Russia's worst nightmare. If Hillary got in, I think Putin is probably going, man, I wish Hillary won, because you see what I do. But with that being said, Russia should be in this meeting. Why are we having a meeting without Russia being in the meeting? And I would recommend, and it's up to them, but Russia should be in the meeting. It should be a part of it. You know, whether you like it or not, and it may not be politically correct, but we have a world to run. And in the G7, which used to be the G8, they threw Russia out. They should let Russia come back in, because we should have Russia at the negotiating table.
You're out of here, Russia. It's a little thing they did with Ukraine and Crimea. They threw them out. I think this is proof positive now, Russian collusion. Obviously, Donald Trump is nothing but Putin's puppet or something like that. New York Magazine claims that. Here's an image. Check it out. One of Russia's principal foreign policy goals for decades has been to split the United States from its allies. Whether by accident or by design, President Trump appears intent on bringing that dream to fruition. Well, of course he is. The Russians bought the election for him. What is he supposed to do? Turn his back on his Russian comrades? Silly people. If sticking around and bending over and taking it in the backside for another decade or two is your idea of getting along with our allies, then so be it. Donald Trump has said right from the get-go, and he said this on the campaign trail over and over and over again, the trade deficits and the trade deals have been cut, some of the worst on planet Earth, all of it against us. And he said, I am for the people. I speak for the people. America first, the American people first. And I am not going to stand around and continue to take this on the chin. That's what it's about. And he does make a very good point. Very good point about Russia being a player on the world stage, probably more militarily than economically, but nonetheless. You got to deal with everybody, and it's funny. You know, I can think of somebody who said the same thing. George Washington. No, I'm not making it up.
It seems like it's going to be a G6. It looks like we are on the verge of getting kicked out of the G7. They're going to do some of these agreements without us. I mean, listen, you can now see why the president, why the Russian government cared so much about getting Donald Trump elected. I think that Putin is getting exactly what he wanted. He has paid no substantial price for interfering in our election. He has not moved 1 inch inside Crimea or Ukraine, and he is now being let back into the club. And so the message coming from last week and this week seems to be that if you're a friend of the United States, you get treated really shabbily. If you're an enemy of the United States, you get top class treatment.
What a moron. Hold your thoughts to yourself. Don't actually say those things out loud, Bill. First of all, Russia has got plenty of sanctions put on them. There was legislation last year. In fact, the Treasury Department just slapped a whole bunch more on them for hacking. So the Democrats have an ability to bend the truth wherever they want to go. But it's interesting, you know, it wasn't all that long ago that the Democratic Party with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and who is that guy who was the vice president? Oh yeah, Joe Biden. They really liked Russia a lot. I remember Mitt Romney was sitting there saying they are going to be our biggest, you know, enemy, and they laughed. They went, ha 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 ha, ha. Stupid man. We are much smarter than you, and we know that Russia's our friend. In fact, they wanted people like Donald Trump to invest in Russia because Russia was so great, and they even made a little plastic box that misspelled reset in Russian. They were, when it came to a curve on intelligence, that's where the Obama administration was. So now, of course, in order to keep the collusion deal going, it's all about, you know, Donald Trump doing this bidding. But no, he has sanctioned Russia, but God forbid that any of the media would challenge a Democrat on anything they say. And there is a point here where you do, in fact, I think, if you wanted, as I was going to say, George Washington said the same thing, you know, you deal with everybody. Foe, friend, you deal with everybody. And if anybody attacks you, you annihilate them. Otherwise, deal. Here's an image, Republican Ben Sasse also attacked the president. This is weak. Putin is not our friend, and he's not the president's buddy. He is a thug using Soviet-style aggression to wage a shadow war against America. And our leaders should act like it. So I'm not sure. You understand that Russia is really kind of a third world country? You do understand that? You ought to look it up. I mean, the people that are anti-Trump, whether it be Democrat or Republican, they build the Soviet Union up into this big boogeyman. And quite honestly, they don't deserve that kind of a rep. Even the Russia collusion stuff, for goodness sakes, they indicted, 2 Russian companies. One didn't exist during the election. The other had $1 million or $2 million they spent on Facebook, the majority of it after the election. And that's your evidence of collusion. It drives you crazy. All right, so let's get deeper into the conspiracy here, all right? Let's see. All of a sudden, Donald Trump is getting our allies angry at us. And yet he really seems to be, chumming it up with Putin, of course, and Kim Jong-un. Well, that can only mean one thing.
Jennifer, does he know that what he's doing is exactly what Vladimir Putin wants him to do? I've asked this question of a couple people today. Is he trying to create a new world order? Is that too outrageous to even ask? Does he want to cast aside our allies and create a new alliance with more strong-arm, strongmen dictators like Vladimir Putin, like Xi Jinping, like the King of Saudi Arabia, like Kim Jong-un in North Korea, who he's praising right now, who he's going to see in Singapore to try and make a deal on the nuclear program? Is he trying to create new relationships and cast off the old on purpose?
And they get paid lots of money. Why can't I get that gig? I can come in and just make stuff up every day and make $1 million a year. I could do that. No, I couldn't. I just not, my soul isn't in it. I just couldn't do that. I couldn't sleep at night. Okay, so what was once a new world order was considered a conspiracy theory, but now CNN believes that even though that was a conspiracy, wacko stuff, Trump is trying to destroy it to create a new world order. So this is the playing field they're on, and they wear special helmets because they're special kids. President Trump did speak at the do I need to explain anymore? Do I really need to break down that brilliant analysis by CNN? Trump also said this at the G7 summit.
We tackled a variety of issues and opportunities facing our nations. At the top of the list was the issue of trade. Very important subject because the United States has been taken advantage of for decades and decades, and we can't do that anymore. I will say it was not contentious. What was wrong was the language that this cannot go on. But the relationships are very good, whether it be President Macron or with Justin. Justin did a really good job. I think the relationships were outstanding. But because of the fact that the United States leaders of the past didn't do a good job on trade, it's going to change. I mean, it's not a question of, I hope it changes. It's going to change 100%. And tariffs are going to come way down because people cannot continue to do that. We're like the piggy bank that everybody's robbing, and that ends. We had extremely productive discussions on the need to have fair and reciprocal, meaning the same. People can't charge us 270% and we charge them nothing. That doesn't work anymore. The relationship that I've had with the people, the leaders of these countries has been, I would really rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, I would rate it a 10. That doesn't mean I agree with what they're doing, and they know very well that I don't. So we're negotiating very hard tariffs and barriers. As an example, the European Union is brutal to the United States. They don't take, and they understand that, they know it. When I'm telling them, they're smiling at me. You know, it's like the gig is up. It's like the gig is up. They're not trying to, there's nothing they can say. They can't believe they got
And he's right, they can't believe they got away with it for so many decades. So they sit there and they make their stance and they give their speeches, but they all know they've been screwing the United States. Trump knows they've been screwing the United States. But the difference between Trump and every president that came before him, at least in my lifetime, is Trump actually cares about you and your family, what it means to you and your family to get screwed by what in most cases are very wealthy European countries, for goodness sakes. He also talked to the fine people at the G7 about what he really wanted to do, and that was, of course, to eliminate all tariffs. I want to get rid of all tariffs. All of it. I just want to get rid of it all. I want to get rid of all the subsidies that all governments have on certain industries because of special interests. Get rid of it all. I just want a fair playing field. So I won't do any of it. You don't do any of it. And of course, they looked at him and said, "Are you out of your mind? Of course we can't do that." But understand, of course, when it all comes down to the media and how they portray Donald Trump, he's not portrayed as the man who's there at the front line fighting for your economic well-being. No, quite the contrary. He's the boogeyman. He's there creating a new world order, evidently, according to CNN. Here's CNN, too, using different photo angles to give you a real true picture of what happened at G7.
Take a look at some of the pictures that may also help tell the story of exactly what kind of relationship the U.S. president has with the other members of the G7. Here's a picture taken by the U.S. This was tweeted out by White House aide Dan Scavino. You can see Trump there seated, all the world leaders huddled around him. Well, here's how Germany framed the exact same moment. This was tweeted by Chancellor Angela Merkel's press secretary, and in this one you can see Merkel leaning across the table. Here's how Canada spun it. Again, the same moment, different angle, different country. In this one, it's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, not Trump, who looks like he's overseeing discussions.
The thing that's funny about this, if you haven't checked it out, you can do it on my Facebook page. It's Twitchy took that same photograph. Actually, the last two that you saw where Merkel's kind of down and looks like she's discussing something very seriously with Donald Trump. The next, within 1 second, there was another snap of the picture, and they're all laughing. So a picture can tell a lot about what's going on, and a specifically chosen one out of context can as well, which of course, as I said, you know, it's no surprise the media is going to do that. I really actually believe that today's media, the Democratic Party, almost all, and the establishment Republicans and whatever you want to call those within the government, those that have burrowed in, really would like to see the economy collapse, would really love to see a big recession in the G7 collapse, and have, it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to see the nuclear war flare up again, because that's how irrational and immature they are when it comes to Donald Trump. Now, of course, Donald Trump seemed to be the one guy taking on the rest of the world. If you take a look at those pictures, he's the guy sitting there saying, "I hold all the cards, baby. We're the most powerful country. We're the biggest economic power, and you guys are screwing us. We're tired of getting screwed, all right?" You know what I'm saying? Well, CNN compared, I don't even know how you can compare Donald Trump to Obama, but here it is.
It's a place that generally a nation would not want to be, especially when there are so many crises either in effect or looming. You need cooperation on a lot of things, and the U.S. has found this in the past. The U.S. needed a lot of cooperation to get the Iran nuclear deal. Remember? Obama needed that. He needed a lot of cooperation to fight ISIS, which is now becoming a success. The U.S. will need continued cooperation on that. The U.S. needed cooperation and continues to need cooperation in putting pressure on North Korea. That's another particularly difficult one. The U.S. will need cooperation in fighting the influence of China and the aggressive tendencies of Russia. But in this case, even today, we saw Trump seemingly carrying water for Vladimir Putin.
Of course, yes, carrying water for Vladimir Putin. It's all about Putin's. These people, I think, actually believe their own stuff. Obama needed help. He needed help from everybody. I mean, everybody. And even then, he failed spectacularly. But you know what? He spoke well. And that's really all that matters to liberals. He spoke very well. He said the right things at the right time for liberals. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter that his foreign policy blew up in his face, and goodness knows how many tens upon tens of thousands of people were killed. This Nobel Prize winner, the countries he invaded, is the economy that collapsed and stayed stagnant for 8 years. You know, to them it doesn't matter. They don't look at it the same way you and I look at it. Barack Obama's presidency was an abject failure on every level, and it's measurable. And the fact that Donald Trump could come in a very short period of time, basically erase Obama's legacy, tells you just how little of a legacy he actually had. But the other point here is you got Trudeau, who's a socialist up in Canada. He's another one of those. He talks real good, eh? And looks real good. And they don't talk that way in Canada. I don't know why I even did that accent. But in any case, here's the Canadian Prime Minister, and you got to understand, Donald Trump goes to Canada. He did this as a favor to Trudeau. He has other important things to do for this summit. He praised them. You're going to sign some socialist letter, evidently, as well. And then he gets in his plane and, see ya, was nice, and he's in the air, and once his plane leaves Canadian airspace, Trudeau has a press conference.
I highlighted directly to the President that Canadians did not take it lightly, that the United States has moved forward with significant tariffs on our steel and aluminum industry, particularly did not take lightly the fact that it's based on a national security reason, that for Canadians who either themselves or whose parents or community members have stood shoulder to shoulder with American soldiers in far-off lands and conflicts from the First World War onwards, that it's kind of insulting. And I highlighted that it was not helping in our renegotiation of NAFTA, and that it would be with regret, but it would be with absolute certainty and firmness that we move forward with retaliatory measures on July 1st, applying equivalent tariffs to the ones that the Americans have unjustly applied to us.
With firmness. With firmness. The guy's a little weasel. He's the kind of guy who says something and then runs it. Please don't hit me. One of those kind of guys. But it's Canada. It's Canada. So how did Trump react to that? He must have been angry. He tweets, you know, when he's angry. Why should I, as President of the United States, allow countries to continue to make massive trade surpluses as they have for decades, while our farmers, workers, and taxpayers have such a big and unfair price to pay? Not fair to the people of America. $800 billion trade deficit. Oh, that's a good tweet. Anybody got the answer? Huh? Well, he wasn't done. Why should I, as President of the United States, allow countries to continue to make massive trade surpluses? I think I just read this one. There must be another one. That was deja vu for me. Is there another one? Come on, he couldn't have stopped at just one tweet. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. Are we done with the images? If so, I'll go on to Larry Kudlow. Oh, here it is. Fair trade is now to be called fool trade if it is not reciprocal. I love this. This guy is awesome. According to a Canadian release, or a Canada release, they make almost $100 billion in trade with U.S. Guess they were bragging and got caught. Minimum is $17 billion. Tax dairy from us at 270%. Then Justin acts hurt when called out, you know? And he continues, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada acted so meek and mild during our G7 meetings, only to give a news conference after I left saying that U.S. tariffs were kind of insulting, and he will not be pushed around. Very dishonest and weak. Our tariffs are in response to his 270% on dairy. Trump is good. There's no other human being on planet Earth, I feel, that could do what Donald Trump is doing right now. And he is shaking up things in a very, very, very big way. And you're seeing the dependency of the rest of the world on us. They're pariah. They've been sucking from the American teat, your teat, for decades and decades and decades. That's money that could create jobs and higher wages. To have a president who puts you first, is that not awesome? And yet, of course, the liberals hate it in a big way. And you know why? Because if you're prosperous, they're not. If you're self-reliant, they're out of business. They want you to be enslaved to the government. So let's get to Larry Kudlow. I love this guy. And he spoke about Trudeau in only the way Kudlow could.
These are things that Prime Minister said before, basically, but he didn't say them before after a successful G7 communique where President Trump and the others all worked in good faith to put a statement together, which, by the way, almost nobody expected to happen. In fact, reporters were asking me before the trip whether the president was going to show up at all. He did. He negotiated. He directed his team, myself and others. We worked it out. We used good language that was acceptable.
And then the president reneged on that G7 statement.
No, I'm sorry. And then Trudeau decided to attack the president. That's the key point. And yes, you know, if you attack this president, he's going to fight back. But here's the key point, Margaret. President is going to negotiate with Kim of North Korea in Singapore. It is a historic negotiation. And there is no way this president is not going to stand strong, number one. He's not going to allow other people to suddenly take pot shots at him hours before that summit. And number two, Trudeau should have known better.
But why pick a public fight with a friend to impress an enemy?
Well, hey, who picked the fight?
But
I'm arguing Trudeau picked the fight.
He did pick the fight. He did, Larry. He did, and he's right. You notice he's really surrounded himself with some very good folks to get the point across. Kudlow, of course, is awesome, I think. But isn't it interesting how the media immediately takes the side of Trudeau or anybody who's against Trump? That wouldn't be happening if that were Barack Obama who was attacked unfairly by Trudeau. But I don't think either one of them can actually throw a baseball like a man. And then there's this guy who really does speak like a man. And he is Peter Navarro, who's an advisor, and he did not mince words.
Chris, there's a special place in hell for any foreign leader that engages in bad faith diplomacy with President Donald J. Trump and then tries to stab him in the back on the way out the door. And that's what bad faith Justin Trudeau did with that stunt press conference. That's what weak, dishonest Justin Trudeau did. And that comes right from Air Force One. And I'll tell you this, to my friends in Canada, that was one of the worst political miscalculations of a Canadian leader in modern Canadian history. All Justin Trudeau had to do was take the win. President Trump did the courtesy to Justin Trudeau to travel up to Quebec for that summit. He had other things, bigger things on his plate in Singapore, where you are now, Chris. He did him a favor, and he was even willing to sign that socialist communique. And what did Trudeau do? As soon as the plane took off from Canadian airspace, Trudeau stuck our president in the back. That will not stand.
No, it won't. Donald Trump doesn't forget such things. Probably unwise for Trudeau. The message you take away from this, and it isn't really being vocalized as much as I think it should, is that Donald Trump went to the G7, and actually in his talk with Trudeau and everyone, he stressed that let's move to eliminating all tariffs. all subsidies, which of course is a way of one government playing unfairly in the marketplace by subsidizing a special interest group. And we all do it. We all do it. Let's just get rid of all of it. No tariffs, no subsidizing, just let the better person win, the better company win. That's what free market is. We haven't had free markets in this country or on the global scale forever, it seems. That's the message. And what a wonderful message. But no way in hell do the Europeans want to give up the amount of money they're taking from the U.S. or Justin Trudeau or Mexico or anywhere else. But you got a guy in Donald Trump who's fighting for you. I mean, literally fighting for you and your family. He's the kind of guy who'd be sitting right at your table. That's how much he cares about you, and he's willing to take it. I'm going to just share. I had a personal conversation with my daughter today who you would think would be a big Trump fan, but she has some issues. And I said, can you imagine getting up every day, having everybody in your family personally attacked, viciously, by virtually everyone in the media, by Hollywood, by the Republican establishment, by the Democrats? Look at what this man puts up with on a daily basis, and he doesn't need the job. Unlike all the other presidents, he doesn't need it. He does. He's doing it for you. Can you see it? I think so. I think in America today, more and more people actually realize that Donald Trump truly does mean what he says. Oh, how refreshing is that? Well, he's going to Singapore, and in fact, he's there, and he's going to be meeting with Kim Jong-un. Now, that is a historic meeting, and he had lots of things to say about that as well. I mean, this could be a historic win if, in fact, he's successful in getting Kim Jong-un to denuclearize the peninsula. And he might actually deserve the Nobel Peace Prize, which is a bit of a controversy when it comes to the prior president. We'll be back. Stick around.
Yes, the entire known media universe is buzzing about the following amazing radio phenomenon.
It's the Bill LuMaye. It's the Bill LuMaye. It's the Bill LuMaye Show.
You know, we all have something to hide. No, we truly do. I get it, because that's what makes us us. You know, things maybe we're embarrassed about or whatever. But there are some people out there, and a lot more than you might imagine, that really truly have some bad things to hide. And their worst enemy right now happens to be TruthFinder, because TruthFinder is a search engine that absolutely looks at and expands its search each and every day as the records become a larger pool of information. You see, public records, I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of records, and they're ever expanding. And all of this information, TruthFinder can sift through to give you the most accurate background check of any of the search engines. Plus, when you're a member of TruthFinder, unlimited searches. Search away. I mean, it might be you're involved in a divorce, you need to find some things out. Or maybe your high school buddy, where did he end up? Or maybe yourself, to find out what the internet really knows about you. I can tell you this firsthand, there's nothing better out there. So give it a shot. Just go to the website and search yourself, just for kicks. I think it'll blow you away when it comes back. Here it is. You ready? BigLeaguePolitics.com/TruthFinder. That's BigLeaguePolitics.com/TruthFinder.
I think I'm very well prepared. I don't think I have to prepare very much. It's about attitude. It's about willingness to get things done. But I think I've been preparing for the summit for a long time, as has the other side. I think they've been preparing for a long time also. So this isn't a question of preparation. It's a question of whether or not people want it to happen. And we'll know that very quickly.
It's almost like it's a photo op. If the critics say it's just a photo op, what do you tell them?
Well, it's going to be much more than a photo op. I think it's a process. I've told you that many times before. I think it's not a one-meeting deal. It would be wonderful if it were. You know, they've been doing this for a long time. There's been a lot of enemies out there, a lot of dislike, a lot of hatred between countries. This will not be just a photo op. This will be, at a minimum, we'll start with perhaps a good relationship, and that's something that's very important toward the ultimate making of a deal. I'd love to say it could happen in one deal. Maybe it can. They have to denuke. If they don't denuclearize, that will not be acceptable. I think it's going to be a very fruitful meeting. I think it's going to be an exciting meeting. I think we're going to get to know a lot of people that our country never got to know. This is something that should have been handled many years ago by other presidents. It shouldn't be handled now. It should have been handled years ago. But it is being handled now, and I'll take care of it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Don't you get a sense of confidence in this man? That when he says he's going to handle it, he's going to handle it? You don't get a sense from this guy, Donald Trump, as the previous president, that he's going to load up a cargo plane with a bunch of U.S. dollars and fly it over there to get some kind of press written about him. He seems like a man who's confident in his own ability. He's cut deals of big deals his whole life. He's had to deal with some of the worst people on planet Earth in order to make that happen. And now he is going to be meeting with Kim Jong-un. And I think it's just amazing to me, because the media has been, every step of the way, very, very critical, of course. It's not going to work. He's going to blow up the country, yada, 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 yada. And every time they're proven wrong by this guy. So he's in Singapore. Everybody's kind of hopeful, although I do believe the press and the liberal Democratic Party would like to see him to fail miserably, which is a terrible thing to want to have happen, but I think you would agree with me on that. How long do you think it'll take before you know that Kim Jong-un is serious? That was the question. Here was his answer.
I think within the first minute, I'll know. Just my touch, my feel. That's what I do. How long will it take to figure out whether or not they're serious? I said maybe in the first minute. You know, the way they say that you know if you're going to like somebody in the first 5 seconds. You ever hear that one? Well, I think that very quickly I'll know whether or not something good is going to happen.
Yeah, I think you know that, right? This is what I mean about Donald Trump. He kind of relates to you on a basic level where you know, your gut will tell you right off the tops whether this is a person that you can trust, not trust, you like, dislike, need to be afraid of. You know that what he's saying here is true. Kim Jong-un, he's a bad dude. There's no question about that. But Donald Trump has treated that country in a much different way than any past president has. And Kim Jong-un has done something I think is worth noting. There was an article written about it, and I happen to agree with it, and that is the fact that he left North Korea to go to Singapore. This is Kim Jong-un. You know how many people would like to assassinate Kim Jong-un? And he did so. And the meeting that looked like was not going to happen, a big letter, and I mean, it came in a really big envelope, so it was a big letter that said, no, I want to meet. My senses seem to, well, it's telling me that I think there's something more here than meets the eye. I hope so anyway, I hope so, but he's right. And here's Donald Trump too. This is what I love about him. This is probably why you like him too. He's very straightforward as far as Kim Jong-un is concerned.
This has probably rarely been done. It's unknown territory in the truest sense. But I really feel confident. I feel that Kim Jong-un wants to do something great for his people, and he has that opportunity. And he won't have that opportunity again. It's never going to be there again. So I really believe that he's going to do something very positive for his people, for himself, his family. He's got an opportunity the likes of which I think almost, if you look into history, very few people have ever had. He can take that nation with those great people and truly make it great. So it's a one-time shot, and I think it's going to work out very well. And that's why I feel positive, because it makes so much sense.
And he's truthful. He is going to be a one-time shot. I don't think Donald Trump will give Kim Jong-un a second shot. And if you're Kim Jong-un, I mean, his country sucks on all kinds of different levels. And he doesn't have an opportunity here to change his country in a momentous way. Is he that kind of guy? Does he care about those kinds of things? You know, I really do not know. But Kim Jong-un arrived in Singapore, and it was pretty big news. And here's Donald Trump, of course, also arriving via U.S. Air Force One. And Kim Jong-un was treated as a rock star when he got there. He came in on an Air China flight, and he was greeted. And as I said, Singapore is a bit of a police state. Yet it's still capitalistic in many, many ways. And it's certainly an area where, despite his security, if you're Kim Jong-un, and you can see his guys, future Olympic team there, I guess, also security people, as he's arriving in his specially built armored vehicle. He took some chances coming to Singapore because, generally speaking, Kim Jong-un and his fathers, they didn't leave North Korea for all the obvious reasons. How do Americans feel about this? Are they optimistic? Are they supporting the president? Well, it seems that in a new poll that, in fact, they are. Should President Trump meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un? And 66% of you say yes. I don't know who the 24% of you are, but probably disgruntled Hillary supporters, I guess, because she would still be planning the damn meeting. She would, I'm not sure where she'd even get around to the meeting because she was going to have the best State Department diplomatic minds meet for years and years and years before she met. Donald Trump's kind of a guy that just makes it happen. MSNBC. God, you got to love them. Trump, North Korea summit. And comparing it to, of course, who else? The deity they adore so much, Obama.
Yeah, it's interesting, Masha, that, you know, the right, the same Republican right, excoriated President Obama for even the idea of doing this exact same thing with Iran, right? Of trying to negotiate with Iran and treating it as sort of a semi-normal country. So that aside, the complete flip in ideology, you know, Joseph Stalin sat down was on the United States side in World War II, right? I mean, it isn't unprecedented that sometimes a world leader who is in every other way objectionable can accomplish one thing that kind of works. But I guess I have to ask you the same question, because at the same time that, you know, a good outcome may come of it. And by the way, let's not forget that Moon Jae-in is the driving force here, the South Korean president. Let's not cut him out and pretend that somehow Donald Trump's stumbling around is what's causing all of this. It's, you know, there are other factors, and the president of South Korea is a huge factor in what's going on in the peninsula.
Wow, that homophobic MSNBC host is still employed. Isn't that interesting? Who's ahead of it? Was it Twitter? Yeah. Twitter today, who had to apologize for eating at Chick-fil-A, and this woman still has a gig? Putting that aside, Barack Obama in Iran versus North Korea. Here's the difference. Barack Obama went to Iran hat in hand. Please, I have a legacy here. I got nothing, man. We'll give you cash. We'll give you access to our economic, we'll give you passwords. We'll give you a license. You can get your billions back. Please sign something. We'll even give you nuclear weapons. We don't care. On the other hand, North Korea came hat in hand to Donald Trump. He did, in fact, do that. But here's a congressman who had some concerns, and I think he raises something that is certainly reasonable, and I understand where he's coming from.
I think it would be wise for the president to come to Congress to ensure that there is a ratification of any agreement which does take place between the North Koreans and the United States.
So that's Markey. Of course, he never raised that concern when Barack Obama was cutting actually money laundering for Iran and sending the cargo planes over and the deal cut with Iran. Markey never mentioned that, but it's fair enough. I'm not worried about it. You know why I'm not worried about it? Because
Iran deal.
I would only do a deal if I get it through Congress. I wouldn't do.
That's it. He's not going to be like Obama. I'm going to do what Obama did. I'm going to run it through Congress. How about that? Do it the right way. I think that's awesome. I really do. And yet, the left continues to praise Barack Obama for what? I do not know. The Trump Factor. Author Brad Thomas on how the president will actually handle the summit. Check it out.
Look, President Trump has a number of tools in the toolkit. You know, as the deal maker in chief, I think one of his most strategic tools is his toughness. He's going to go into this summit as a very, very tough negotiator. You know, he's the deal maker in chief, and I fully expect him to go in with really, you know, guns loaded, and he's going to, really charge like a rhino. He's going to take charge of this summit, and I think that's really going to be his number one tool that I think, again, Abby and Pete, that he's got in his toolkit.
I think that's true. I think Donald Trump, I don't know Donald Trump, but I just get the sense from Donald Trump, he walks into a room, he fills it up. He is. He is not afraid of anything. And he'll take you dead on, and 99.9% of the time, he is going to get inside your head. That's Donald Trump. Clearly, that's been the case. He's been doing it, well, to the Republican primary field, but also to the media since he's been president. So Donald Trump has this president. And you have to understand, unlike all the other presidents we've had, Barack Obama, what did he do? He nothing with his life. He didn't have a clue what to do. This guy does. Donald Trump most certainly does. Now, Gorka is somebody I like a lot, and he thought there were a couple of things that are easily achieved with this summit.
I expect two large baskets of results coming out of the meetings here, Steve. Number one is going to be something very large and symbolic that relates to the Korean War and how we can just tie a bow on that conflict and hopefully shut it down. And then secondly, it's the far more tactical, operational level of technical issues to do with denuclearization, specifically the weapons program that North Korea currently has and the ballistic missile technology. So those are the two target sets we're going to be expecting today.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what actually comes of it. It could all fall apart. Donald Trump said it himself. It could all be for naught. But you know what? You give it a shot. You expect the best, you work for the best. If it happens, terrific. If it doesn't, oh well, it doesn't. You go back to doing exactly what you've been doing. It's not as though he's let off the gas. Contrary to the popular belief of the media, he's gotten a lot already. We've gotten hostages. We've gotten the missile site destroyed. And Donald Trump has not rescinded anything. I guess you could say he pulled back a little bit on the military exercise, but that's it. Now, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, awesome choice, by the way. He hit the floor running. I mean, this guy delayed by the Democrats because that's what they do. I mean, he finally gets confirmed. He gets sworn in, like, and 2 minutes later, he's on a plane to North Korea. That's how this guy, that's how important he is to Donald Trump and how quickly he works. He had some words to speak on this summit and what he hopes can be accomplished.
North Korea has previously confirmed to us its willingness to denuclearize, and we are eager to see if those words prove sincere. The fact that our two leaders are sitting down face to face is a sign of the enormous potential to accomplish something that will immensely benefit both of our peoples and the entire world. President Trump believes that Kim Jong-un has an unprecedented opportunity to change the trajectory of our relationship and bring peace and prosperity to his country. We are hopeful this summit will have set the conditions for future productive talks. In light of how many flimsy agreements the United States has made in previous years, this president will ensure that no potential agreement will fail to adequately address the North Korean threat. The ultimate objective we seek from diplomacy with North Korea has not changed. The complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the Korea Peninsula is the only outcome that the United States will accept.
So do you believe that man? I do. I'm hopeful. I'm going to pray about it. I hope that, in fact, the Korean War does end, that nuclear weapons are removed from North Korea. It's in everybody's best interest, no question about it. And I believe the only man capable of making that happen is Donald Trump. Certainly not the past presidents could have accomplished this, going way, way back. Maybe Reagan, but other than that, no way. So, while the Democratic team is rooting against it, rooting against you and your family and the economy and everything that makes your life better, it's nice to know there's a president out there who's doing all he can, despite all the odds, to make your life good again, great again. When we come back, I want to just quickly go through the Virginia primary. You may not live in Virginia, doesn't matter, because there are individuals there that certainly could use your support. It's a primary. You have Republicans who are establishment types. You have Republicans who are more Trump type. And it's amazing how the Republican establishment has a way of being a bit of a chameleon. And you don't really know who they are until it's too late. We want to prevent that from happening, so stick around. We'll be right back. 1 minute.
Yes, the entire known media universe is buzzing about the following amazing radio phenomenon.
It's the Bill LuMaye. It's the Bill LuMaye. It's the Bill LuMaye Show.
Well, how's your investment doing? I hope well. We all want to retire, right? I guess a lot of us on an island with somebody, with a fan, you know. No, just with a fan and grapes. I'd like some grapes. Well, we're not all going to accomplish that, but it's nice to at least strive for that. And one of the most important aspects of your retirement accounts is, of course, the security that comes with precious metals. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting or just finishing. This is something that a lot of people know about but don't know about. I mean, in the sense of, well, how do you make this work? How does this all go together with my 401k and IRA? Well, Birch Gold is the best of the best. They were rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. They have a 16-page booklet. It's absolutely free, and I mean that. You just go through their website, you ask for it, they send it to you. Nobody's going to call you, nobody's going to bug you, but it's going to give you a lot of insider information, a lot of information that you could use, and hopefully you will call them back and let them do what they've done for me and so many others, and that is look at your IRA, 401ks, and create a precious metal IRA. Now, this is going to give you the security of the basing of the dollar in the stock market. There is no tax penalty. There's nothing negative about it. It's all positive. It'll also give you peace of mind. So you could do it right now, actually. Go to the website, order the 16-page book. Here it is, bigleaguepolitics.com/birchgold, bigleaguepolitics.com/birchgold.
Others talk, I deliver. When in Prince William County we were hit with the biggest recession since World War II, we had to cut our spending. We cut $185 million out of our budget in a single year. It was a record tax cut resulting, an average tax cut of $400 per house. Never been seen anywhere else. When others talk, I deliver. When it comes to supporting and defending our Second Amendment rights, I became the first county in Virginia to eliminate the concealed carry permit fee. And the reason we did it, because you shouldn't have to pay, you shouldn't even have to get a permit in order to exercise your Second Amendment rights or any other rights that are guaranteed to us as citizens under the Constitution of the United States. And that's why I am for constitutional carry, and I'm unabashedly and very proud of that position. Others talk on illegal immigration, but do nothing about it. I deliver. When it wasn't popular, long before President Trump or anybody else brought this up, I delivered the toughest crackdown on illegal immigration anywhere in the United States in my county. So far, we've delivered more than 7,500 criminal illegal aliens over to the feds for deportation. And by the way, the state didn't help out very much, but our violent crime rate dropped by 48.7%. And others talk about winning. Well, we know what his record is. One try, one loss. In Northern Virginia, my district is twice the size of a state Senate district. It's 54% minority. I've won it not just once, not just twice, but 4 times. And it's a 54% minority district. If you're looking for somebody who's going to fight, if you're looking for somebody who's not going to stand down to the liberals, if you're looking for somebody who's not afraid of controversy, and if you're looking for a winner, then I am your candidate. Let's take back Virginia.
I guess I don't have to tell you who we're for. Well, that's Corey Stewart, and he's right down on everything he just said. And of course, that's right out of Trump's own campaign, but it's Corey's. I mean, he's been doing this for a very long, long time. And I think it's important that you understand Virginia, wherever it is. I think we have races in North Dakota, Nevada, and elsewhere on Tuesday as well, that you have individuals that absolutely fit the mold that you need to send to Washington, or in this case, he and his Republican, and the Republican primary opponent is Nick Freitas, or I'll just give it away, Never Trump Nick. And they're going head to head, and they're up against a guy who on Earth 2 is currently the vice president, but since it's his Earth 1, he wants to retain his Senate seat, Tim Kaine. And you remember who that guy is, right?
So I wanted to come here to Miami. I wanted to come here to introduce you to the person that I just can't think of anybody better to have by my side on the campaign trail in the White House. Together, we are going to take on the challenges that are hurting Americans. We are going to give the middle class a raise. We are going to give tax relief to working families to help with the rising costs of raising kids. We are going to create more good jobs. We're going to make sure every child in America has the chance to live up to his or her God-given potential. So be involved in every way that you can, because together we're going to win this election and move our country forward. Please join me in welcoming the next Vice President, my friend, Senator Tim Kaine.
Oh, I get all tingle. No, I didn't. I didn't get a tingle at all. I mean, he scares the hell out of me. So did she. That's the kind of voice I learned to tune out with my first wife, to be honest with you. I mean, my God, can you imagine if she were president today, what the economy would really look like? They're against the tax cut. They don't want you to have more money. They're all about spending money. They're about coming to your house with a gun and taking your money and redistributing it as they see fit. All you have to do, and I've never been able to understand this, take a look at everything Democrats control, whether it's your large urban cities, whether it's the state of California, whatever, take a look at it. I mean, you would have to be intellectually dishonest to say that's really well done. Bravo, bravo. In any case, Corey Stewart is fighting the good fight. He was, I guess he was on CNN, and as you know, CNN doesn't like conservatives. I think conservatives are, pretty racist.
Media or any Democratic politician has come out, and not even establishment Republicans have come out and condemned the far left group Antifa, which has been espousing violence and attacking people.
Why do you think that is, Corey? Maybe, is it possible?
Because they're afraid.
No, they're afraid. Is it possible
because establishment Republicans are afraid of being labeled by CNN as racist and bigots, and they know that that's exactly what you're going to do, and there's only a few of us who are going to stand up to you.
Is it possible that it's because someone died who was counter-protesting,
so what you're saying, Kate,
who was
is that
counter-protesting, and someone who is known as a sympathizing with neo-Nazi mentality?
Poor woman's death. You're trying to use this poor woman's death to say the Confederate monuments should be taken down. There's no
I'm sorry, is that what I said at all? I'm sorry, is that what I said at all?
That's exactly what you're trying to say, Kate.
Corey,
and that's
Stewart.
what and establishment Republicans will not stand up against these left attacks.
Corey, in no way, if we could all be a little intellectually honest here, in no way am I
intellectually honest. I don't, coming from CNN, I just don't.
Am the
I don't
anchor
see
of
that
the
at all.
show. I'm asking the question. Hold on a second. In no way am I conflating two things. In no way am I conflating.
So why are you bringing up this poor woman's death and trying to say that that's somehow?
Stop talking. Stop talking for a second. You're the guest on my show. I would like to continue the conversation with you respectfully. And in no way am I trying to do anything with this poor woman's death that has anything to do with the statue. I already said to you that there is a time and a place, and has been for a very long time, a time and a place to have a debate and a conversation about the appropriate place for Confederate statues. It stopped being about statues when people showed up with swastikas.
It stopped being about statues when the left came and started the violence, and the violence occurred by both sides, including the left. Where's the condemnation of Antifa? A far left-wing group that espouses violence.
Where is your condemnation of the right?
I've already condemned it, and by the way, so has every other Republican under the sun.
And he's right about that. And the hypocrisy, well, it's CNN, right? It's CNN. You know, the thing about this, and not that we don't have a lot of time here, but the Civil War was about seceding from the Union. That's what it was about. It was economic. Slavery was part of that, but it was really about states' rights. And the fact to say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And that, of course, is lost because we have a bunch of numbskulls that are being educated by public schools and very progressive universities. And now, they have this fixation on inanimate objects, an unhealthy one, I would say, whether it be statues and or guns. So here's Nick Faritas. He's the opponent. He's the guy who wants to unseat Corey Stewart and and I believe he is the establishment backing opponent in the Republican primary.
Now, my phone has been blowing up a lot lately, and that's because people are asking me if I've seen this new ad that Corey Stewart has run. In it, Corey Stewart deliberately lies about my record. Not half-truths, not misrepresentation. He deliberately lies about my record. So why is he doing this? Well, one, he's hoping you won't check it. Two, He's doing it because Corey has realized he can't beat me in the primary, so he's trying to create a version of me that he can beat. Here's what I would ask you to do. Go online and check my record. I've been in the General Assembly for the last 3 years. I've taken thousands of votes on everything from sanctuary cities to taxes. And what you'll find is I've never voted for a tax increase. I've always voted to oppose sanctuary cities. Corey Stewart's also going to tell you that I'm a never Trumper. I voted for President Trump. I've defended President Trump in public to include on the floor of the House of Delegates. So why is Corey doing all of this? That's the question that you're going to have to ask yourself. I promise you I'll never lie about Corey, and I'll never lie about EW. And the reason why is simple. Not only is it wrong to do so, but I don't want to trick you into voting for me.
What's wrong with this guy? Producers, what's wrong with this guy? He sounds very honest. He sounds very sincere. I mean, he's a Trump guy. He said he's not going to lie to me. He's not going to trick me. What's the problem with the staff here at Big League Politics? You got something else to show me? Because, what's this? Never Trump Nick supports the following leftist attacks on President Trump. Let me see. Donald Trump is a terrible candidate and would make a disastrous president. Trump's character is non-existent. He admits to being a corrupt swindler. He blatantly lies on a regular basis. He is a sensitive, petty man with very thin skin. There's nothing positive to say about him. In 2016, 0 of Nick's Facebook and Twitter posts expressed support for President Trump, even after he became the nominee. I'm sure glad he's not trying to trick us. This is why we wanted you to know. It's really that simple. Understand, if you believe that Donald Trump and the direction he's taking the country is the right path, never Trump Nick is probably someone you should destroy. Be done with him. And as for Corey Stewart, well, you heard what he stands for. It's basically verbatim Donald Trump on immigration, gun control, the Constitution, all of those kinds of things. So it's important. This November election is very, very important. And I think as long as the economy continues to grow, you know, that'll help. But let's face it. You got Mueller out there, you got the mainstream media, you got the Democrats, you got all kinds of things that can happen between now and then. The last thing we need to have happen is another establishment Republican being the only choice between a Democrat and that individual going to Washington, D.C. So, hey, listen, it's Monday, it's over with already. Have a great evening. We're going to be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Please tell everyone you know, and have yourself a great evening.
Yes, the entire known media universe is buzzing about the following amazing radio phenomenon.
It's the LuMaye. It's the LuMaye. It's the LuMaye Show.